Hey everybody, welcome back to the must-have games top 10 countdown. I think it's going very well so far, and we're about to get back to it, number 5 to number 1. But before we do, I need to course correct something here, because I think I made a mistake. In the first half of this video, I waited until an hour and 8 minutes and 33 seconds before I paused to explain to you, the audience, that as part of the setup for this whole video, I told Shea and Ryan that I wanted to have a lot of back and forth, a lot of banter, a lot of poking fun at each other's choices, because I love that. That is my jam. It's the kind of humor I really enjoy. It's why, for the last 2 years, I've flown to Vegas to spend an hour in a room with Tom Vassell, poking fun at him while he pokes fun at me. And I think, overwhelmingly, it's been pretty well received, but there are some folks who are not enjoying it, who are thinking that maybe Ryan is just being an aggressive jerk. If you feel discomfort, please understand, Ryan is literally following orders from his new boss, me. So be upset with me, because I wanted this to be a fun video to film. I had a great time, Shea had a great time, Ryan had a great time, and I think most people are having a great time, and I'm sorry if there's some people who feel that there's aggression where there isn't any. The three of us, everything is done with respect and love, and yeah, I hope that clears up the air and you can enjoy the second half, where ironically there is a bit less cut-ups and jibes and hijinks and all of that. I think we played it a little bit more straight, because as it went on, we all got tireder and tireder, quite frankly. But I will end it there, and hopefully I didn't have to over-explain the joke too terribly much, and you guys can continue to enjoy not only the finale of this, but then remember, stick around to the end, and there's some behind-the-scenes stuff. If you want to see a totally different side of Ryan, well, you'll definitely want to check that out. And otherwise, thanks for watching, and let's get back to it with number 5. Ryan, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Keyflower.
Wow, excellent. I am
Love
liking your bunker
that
more and
game.
more. Except there's a salty curmudgeon living in it.
So Keyflower, really quickly, is a worker placement bidding auction game where you're bidding on tiles to put them in your little town. The theme is kind of like a pilgrim thing. There are new settlers arriving on boats, and you get access to some of them depending on what you do. And what I really like about it is that once you use your meeples to bid for tiles and they go into your town, now your tiles and everybody else's tiles in their town, and even all the tiles in the middle that you're bidding on, their powers are activatable, so people can put their meeples on the tiles in your town to juice them for resources, whatever they want to do. But then at the end of the round, those meeples that they put in your town are now your meeples, and then you can use them for bidding or activating in the next round. It's really smart, and it's one of the few games that I have on this top 10 list that isn't oozing with theme.
No, you shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. That is a very thematic thing. Here's the thing, though. The reason that the developers, this is my own personal pet theory, do not put the theme front facing, is because it's a really dark theme. Why is it that,
kind of
when I put red meeples on this thing now, the blue meeples can't go there anymore? Racial divides. It's actually a pretty, if you actually dig deep into what's going on there, we can't work with those dirty French, or whatever. But to me, it all is very thematically justified. It's just kind of mankind doesn't always work well together, kind of a theme. I don't know if that improves
it's smart.
it for
I love
you,
it, and I
quite
can play.
frankly.
It's one of the only games I have in my collection where it's a 3-hour long play. The moment we finish, I'm like, set it up again. I want to play again. I just really
It is amazing. It is in my top 10 of all time. And yeah, I mean, the auctioning is great. The fact that you are bidding with your workers. All right, now I can't do the work that I actually bid so high to get this tile.
Right,
and
now I've got nobody left to put on it.
Yeah.
Oh, and
also,
the other thing,
if you want to, you can play it so mean. It can be a very aggressive, denial, cutthroaty type experience.
Well, I love that you can spend all these resources flipping a tile to make it better, but when you do that, you've now exposed it to all the other players to play on it.
We're open for business.
Yeah, exactly.
And somebody else comes over and gives, you gave me a blue meeple. Fantastic. Yep. You know I don't have any blue meeples, and therefore I can't use my own upgraded building now.
Yep. And then just like in Catan, or Catan, I pronounce it differently because I'm allergic, but you know how you can put a settlement on either end of that hex, and now you've locked the whole hex off?
Yep.
So in Keyflower, there's a capacity to the number of meeples that can be on a tile. So if you just slam three meeples down on an empty tile, that's it. Like you've hosed it for everybody.
You are a monster if you do that.
That's great.
It's yeah. It's fantastic. I don't know if you played it, Shea, but it is.
I unfortunately haven't gotten a chance to play it. I don't play a lot of bidding games, to be honest, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah, neither do I. Yeah, I'm with you. But this one, I don't know, it does it. It's a hit.
Yeah, cool. It is an absolutely brilliant game. All right. Ooh. So that was number 6's, wasn't it? No.
Wait, no.
Yes.
That was first number 5's?
Yep, first to 5.
Oh, yeah, it was first to 5. Yeah, I know where I am. All righty. And then, okay, no, I will tell you my number 5. I think I said right up front, I took Glory to Rome off my list. I had it before, and I would still have it. It's such a brilliant game, infinite replayability, but impossible to get. And I just didn't. I told the guys right up front, I didn't want this to be a list full of weird esoteric things that people who are interested. Oh, I'd like to find out more. Yes, it costs $500. No. So I've removed Glory to Rome, and I've replaced it with the newest game on my list, The Isle of Cats. Yes. Jen and I love this game to pieces so much, and it offers so much game in a box. It is so chock full. It's a drafting game, a la Seven Wonders or Sushi Go. So it ticks a box there because my wife and I really love drafting games. It is a polyomino Tetris tile laying game. Tile laying is one of my favorite gameplay mechanisms. And like I said earlier, roll and rights are having a huge explosion. So are polyomino games. I put this on the list when I thought I would really like a Tetris-y style tile layer. Which one should I do? And there's some really amazing candidates, but Isle of Cats rose to the top of the whatever it's in, whatever barrel it's in. And yeah, I love the presentation. I love the sense of humor. I love the gameplay. It's got so much replayability, so many different variable objective cards that you can draft for and powers and all of that. And if all that weren't enough, this is normally not my first consideration, but people don't seem to appreciate the fact it comes with a brilliant gateway version that you can play with. So, I mean, you can play it as a hardcore gamer geek game, or it's a wonderful gateway. If you know somebody who just likes the idea of cats and likes Tetris, it just works for everybody. It is a game for all seasons. I know expansion content, because it's been a big hit, is on its way, but it doesn't need it. It's such a big box, and it's chock full of brilliance. It's my number 5, The Isle of Cats. Am I crazy?
I haven't had a chance to play it, but I really, really want to.
Yeah.
People are going to be expecting me to have played it because I have this blanket in my background, which is just cats and hearts on it. But it's a game that I've had my eye on. I really want to try it. I just haven't had the chance yet. Because
well, it looks
really
new.
Cool.
I mean, it's brand spanking new. Only just barely came out in December of 2019. Although most people didn't get access to it till like February, I think.
Yeah.
Have you played it, Ryan?
I can't comment. Only that is it called The Isle of Cats or just
it
Isle
is
of
unfortunately
Cats?
Called The Isle of Cats.
Oh no, because somebody told me that it was like a punny title, like I Love Cats.
Yeah. Yes. That's what it should be, but perhaps you prefer that it's not. It's officially The Isle of Cats.
The last cat game that I played was Cat Lady, which I quite enjoyed, and my kids really like playing that too. So I haven't tried it, but one of my viewers recommended Isle of Cats to me, and to have my daughters actually teach people how to play it.
You know what? Honestly, that would be I think that would be a perfect fit, quite frankly. That would work great. Yeah, for the gateway, for the family variant that comes in the box. All right. Well, that was it. No, was it?
Nope, I haven't done my.
No, it's not. Yes,
this is Shea.
Yes, it's Shea. Yes.
How dare you?
It was Ryan, then me, then Shea. I know what I'm doing.
So my number 5 is Cosmic Encounter. Cosmic Encounter is kind of a classic.
You're on the wrong channel, Shea. No, that's why you're here. That's why you're here. Obviously, Cosmic Encounter has more than earned its place in the pantheon of influential board games. But tell us more.
It is definitely
normally
it's
people
a
would
classic,
not hear about this on my channel.
Yeah, of the negotiation game genre, I really like the theme of it. I like sci-fi games, and I love the weirdness of it. But what happens in Cosmic Encounter is everyone is assigned a different alien race at the beginning of the game, and these races are wildly different. And there's like 50 to choose from, even in just the base box. And so,
did you say 50?
I think so.
It's huge.
There's a huge stack of these
Louise,
different
I had no
aliens.
idea it was that much.
And that's one of the big reasons why it's on my list, is because there are so many different aliens in this game that every time you play, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
But the core of the game is you start with 5 worlds. You have a bunch of little spaceships on your worlds, and every turn you're going to draw a card that tells you who you're going to attack. You send some ships in that direction, and then you can ask for help from your other players. They can ask for help from the other players. You'll get benefits either way if you're helping the attacker or helping the defender, but you don't necessarily want to do that because you're risking your own ships to do so. And then the 2 players can negotiate a little bit if they want to. They will play some cards. Sometimes those cards are just attack values. Sometimes they are special abilities. And sometimes they're negotiate. And if both players negotiate, then they can enter a negotiation and both get something out of it. But if one player plays a negotiate and the other player plays an attack card, the attacking player automatically wins.
Yeah.
But every single rule I've just mentioned can be broken by a different alien race.
Insanely broken.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I wouldn't necessarily call this game balanced. Some of the aliens are just stronger than others. However, the balance comes from you are playing this game with multiple people and you look at what everyone has. And this is why I think it's great, a great game for repeated playing, is because once you have an idea of how the game works and can spot which aliens are a little bit stronger than others, you now have an idea of who to watch out for, which player to watch out for.
Yeah.
And that is...
And which race to watch out for.
Exactly. And so that's a self-balancing kind of aspect of the game. But weirdly enough, this game I wouldn't necessarily put in my top 10 of all time.
Okay.
Because I have difficulty getting it to the table. I think it's really good with 4 players or 5 players. 3 you can make it work. I don't want to play it with 2 at all. And that's a little bit difficult for me. However, in this hypothetical scenario, trapped in a bunker with enough people to play any game that I want.
And they have no choice.
And they have no choice.
Else they can do.
Exactly. Yeah, it becomes perfect because you start to see how, everyone starts to become familiar with the game. Everyone starts to know all these different races. And then the fun of it is also just rearranging all the different aliens that you're working with and seeing how every, rule change bashes up against each other. I think that it is endlessly replayable in that sense. There's, not literally infinite, but functionally infinite variability in the setup of the game. And so to that end, I think that it is a perfect game for this kind of scenario.
Perfect. I imagine even Ryan can't argue with that.
It's a great pick. I bought it on Tom Vassel's recommendation, which I'm sure a lot of other people did, but I've never seen a game so polarizing. I've pulled it out at a couple of group events and cons, and people will say, I will not play Cosmic Encounter ever. And I'm like, whoa, I never get that from anyone.
I'm sure people have had bad experiences with this game. I've had a bad experience with Cosmic Encounter, but I don't know. For me, I just want to keep going back.
It's like the closest thing I can see to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the game, in its absurdity.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. And I have had probably the most fun in a single session of a specific, I'm thinking of a specific one where I was playing with all game designers and we played the game, and it was the most fun I've ever had playing a board game, and nobody will play it with me now. My family doesn't like it. I can't take it to cons.
All right.
Great game though.
Yeah, someday I will have to play this. It's definitely on my bucket list. Obviously, it's not my kind of thing. Actually, I don't like conflict, but I love negotiation. And 2-player negotiation games are few and far between. So, yeah someday.
Oh, you don't want to play this 2-player though, Rahdo?
Yeah, I know. You really don't.
Although I guess there is a 2-player version coming, right?
Really?
Cosmic Encounter Duel, I think, is specifically made to be 2-player. I imagine they probably change a lot of the core precepts of the game.
They would have to.
They would have to, yeah.
But maybe they're just trying to keep the spirit of it.
Everyone plays 5 aliens, I'm guessing, or something like that,
Something. Yeah, I have no idea. But anyway, we're to number 4 now.
Yeah.
And, right? Yes. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Then I will start with my number 4, which did make the list last time. Is this my first one that's a crossover from previous? No, I had Shadowrun Crossfire. I just had to change the editions. But Trois, or Troyes, if you prefer, has to stay on my list. Troyes, or Trois, It's here at my number 4, which means if I can only have 4 games, it's one of the ones that made the list. And this one kills so many other games because it is the epitome of what my wife and I enjoy. It is a dry, soulless Euro through and through. We are, unnamed. Royalty or administrative stuff or nobility, just trying to build up a successful French city and dealing with all kinds of problems. Trying to pursue our own agendas. We all have secret goals. I love the fact that in this game, even though I start with a secret goal, if you can figure out what I'm actually doing, you can beat me at my own secret goal. And so we have to be circumspect in how we actually pursue our agenda. I don't know if everybody plays that way, but Jen and I, we played it enough that we are always... Why did he go there? That was not his best move. I know what he's after. But the crux of the game is it's a dice draft. Everybody has a group of dice that represent workers, the people of the town that you can bend to your will. And we all have a collection that's probably unique to us based on what we've invested in. At the beginning of a round, we roll them, we put them in front of ourselves, and then we say, oh, these are the dice I'll be able to use this turn, and with these dice I'll be able to do this, or this. Except when it's your turn, if you like my dice, you can hire them. You give me money and you take my dice. And some people are shocked that I would put this in my top 10 of all time, let alone something I would take into the bunker. But Jen and I, we never really think of that as an aggressive or mean move because all these people who are sitting in front of me, yeah, I'm the one who rounded them up, but I don't own these people. And I'm figuring, hey, you know what? I don't even want half of them. Right now, the way you rolled, I'd rather pay money to get yours. Or the dummy player in a 3-player game. It has a very nice dummy player system that's really simple. I don't think anybody would be put off by it. But it's got really great tension from all the Euro building mechanisms. It's a point salad game. I know some people don't like that, but there's lots of different things you can pursue, and they all are different ways to score points. You've got the secret objectives that you need to keep secret, and you've got that interaction where, hey, take my dice. I am broke. I am happily say goodbye to them, and once I've got that money, I'll be able to achieve the thing I really want to do. And if all that weren't enough, there are external forces. Every round, new cards come out that represent disasters or plague or raiders. And before we can get to doing what we want to do as players, we all have to work in almost a kind of semi-cooperative mode where we have to save the town from all the problems. And if we don't, those problems continue to accrue and mess up everybody's game throughout. I love everything about this game. I know it's a Marmite, but I love the art style, which is very evocative of, true to the time, medieval Renaissance era art. And I could play it a million times and still be enjoying the heck out of it. And it's my number 4, Troyes.
Now, I'm going to pose you the Gaia Project question.
Yeah.
Why Trois and not Black Angel?
That is a very good question. And honestly, I fully expected Black Angel, which is basically Trois in space, which came out last year. I thought it was going to eclipse it. And actually, strictly speaking, just a dispassionate, objective review of the mechanisms, I do think that Black Angel is arguably the better game, the richer game, with more interesting stuff going on, more variety. But there's one big thing that they didn't do. It's the cards. Every time you play Trois, you are going to get such a radically different set of cards that are put into play that are things you can leverage and take advantage of, cards that are going to attack the city, cards that represent our objectives, and there's not a lot of, hey, these 3 cards are pretty much all the same thing except this one's for red dice and this one's for white dice. There's so much variety, and that's the one thing that Black Angel is missing. Black Angel does have a fair bit of variety, but it really plays it safe. It doesn't have a lot of cards that are like, whoa, if this card comes into play, I radically rethink how the entire game works. And because my main metric for this is games that I know I'll be able to play hundreds and hundreds of times, Trois has more variability, more wild variety. It's more Cosmic Encounter style setup than Black Angel does. I expect Black Angel will eventually get an expansion. My guess is they didn't do that with the base game because Black Angel is so much bigger and so much more dense and so much stuff going on. They decide, hey, let's not overwhelm the players. Let's save that stuff for the expansion, whereas it does come in the base game of Trois. Yeah. And that's that. Anything to say on that?
So saith the Rahdo.
It's unfortunately another game that I haven't been able to try yet, but sounds good.
Stick around, kid. Stay on this channel. You'll have new doors open.
Yeah, there's a lot of like classic Euro games that I haven't just gotten around to because while when I play them I enjoy them. It's one of those things of I have the fault of judging books by their cover, and so if I see something that looks very beige or very like just dry theme, then
there's
it's
beige
harder.
in my future.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yes.
hard to
Coming
get
to
to
beige.
the table.
Beige is a feature of that game, really.
Yeah.
Yes, it
like-
leans into the beige. Definitely.
Yeah, they sell it on the back on the right. More beige.
18 shades of beige.
Ooh.
And more than ever seen before.
18's in the expansion. Come on, don't be ridiculous. Yeah.
Fair enough, yeah. All right, well, that was my number 4. Shay, what is your number 4?
So my number 4 is Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
All right.
I really like Quacks, and
A lot of people love that game. Oh, man,
think-
that game is so hot right now.
and it's really good. I think there is a good amount of variety. So Quacks of Quedlinburg, you are a potion maker, but you're kind of a charlatan at the same time. You're just making your potions out of whatever bits and bobs that you can find, and they have a tendency to explode. So it's very much a push your luck game. You're pulling chits out of a bag and you're placing them in the spiral board in front of you. That is your cauldron where you're making your potion. And depending on how many ingredients you can put in, that will give you money to spend in the last part of the round where you're buying new ingredients, or it'll give you points depending on how far you go. But if you can manage to make your potion without exploding, you'll get both of those things. But if you bust, which happens a fair amount of the time, then you'll have to choose one or the other. So it presents you with an interesting choice of when do you keep going or when do you stop. But even if you bust, you still get something, which I really like.
Yeah.
And there's a good amount of replayability in that all of the ingredients, while they're represented by the same chits, you get to have different. Each of them will have different abilities based on what side of the board of the little card for each item that you play with. So I think each chit in the base game has 4 different sides, or most of them do. Some of them are the same every game. And so even with the base game, I think that has a good amount of replayability. But I also think that any push your luck games are going to have are going to be even better in that category because it depends on your own experience. Maybe one game that you're playing, you want to go really bold and really aggressive, and you want to just keep pulling chips out of the bag, and you might think, it doesn't matter if I bust because I just want to get the money to buy the cool thing that I want to get. Or sometimes you want to play it safe, and that's going to change every game that you play. So I really like Quacks. I think that it's definitely improved by the expansion, but I think the base game by itself works just great, and I imagine I'll be playing for a long time.
I think when we played it, we didn't think, oh man, it really needs an expansion. There's a ton in that box right from the get-go.
It definitely doesn't need it, though I would say that it is improved by it. But it's just taking a great game and making it even better. It's not like
Ryan,
it's saving a bad game.
Surely you have played Quacks, right?
I have not. My
What?
history with Quacks is
Do
that,
they not have it in the Great White North?
They do, but my local board game store got the German version originally because they bring in imports.
Yeah.
This is Board Game Bliss in Scarborough. Shout out, they're a great store. And so I looked at it. I didn't even know what the heck it was because it was in German. And then I sort of missed the boat because of that, because by the time it came out in English, and then it showed up in Indigo, which is kind of like the Barnes & Noble of Canada. So when something shows up in Indigo, you know it's really hitting the mainstream.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh man, I really missed the boat on this now, and the ship has sailed. But I hear it's great.
I
okay.
highly recommend it.
I agree it's great. I think it's brilliant. It does what it does very well. Shay, okay, so you love this one a lot, and I've never actually talked to somebody who loves it. Tell me I'm wrong. This was the problem I had with the game from a kind of a design perspective. It starts out great. Every round, do you keep pulling from the bag, knowing that you might bust and it blows up and you get nothing, or there's some mitigating factors to that. The problem we had was, as the game goes on and you're making later potions, the risk, what you have to lose if you push your luck just a little bit more so you can make a slightly better potion, you can lose a lot, but you gain very little. And we found, as the game went on, we were incentivized not to push our luck. In the early game, it's like, yeah, I mean, if you push your luck and you get lucky, it's a huge windfall. And, the amount you stand to win was commiserate to how much you might lose. But that shifted over the course of the game. And we always felt like, yeah, at the end of the game, we're just going to keep playing it safe because we dare not risk anymore. Am I crazy? Did I get something wrong?
I wouldn't say that that's completely wrong, but I do think that that the value for pushing your luck does increase in a certain way because, so let's say you're in round 6 or 7 or something. So you're most of the way through the game. You've gotten a pretty decent collection, but you do still want more, and so you're like rounding out the end, and it's not so much that the potential reward is greater. It's that you've put enough chips in your bag that you think, okay, my odds should be better. And so it kind of tricks you into thinking like, well, okay, I've had, so you're trying to not hit 7 with your white chips. And so you might think I've got 5 white chips on the board. Okay, so if I pull out that 3, I'm doomed, but I've already pulled out both my 2s, so I've got the 1s in there. That's fine if that'll happen. So it's really just that one chip I need to worry about, and I've got I've got 10 chips in there. Yeah. I'll be fine. I can keep going. And then you start to think, ooh, but what if the catastrophe that could happen is bad? So I find that is just a really engaging part of it without it being like the prizes are not exponential, but yeah. I feel like that tension definitely increases in a very pleasing way.
That's interesting. And you're right. I mean, I think I have to admit with some chagrin that that's a fair point that didn't occur to me before. The payout, the ratio of risk to reward, I think does shift in a way that we didn't particularly care for. But your point is that is made up by the fact that the risk itself drops.
Yes.
That's a good point.
But there's always a chance. And then you get to near the end and you're having to make that decision of like, am I greedy? Do I want to try and get more and still get both? Or do I stop now and get both knowing that I won't get the good reward? And that also can be changed by, there's cards that you draw every round and that might change how you play in the game. So,
all right, you have convinced me that if I get the opportunity, I need to go back and give it another try. Because I really liked the idea, but we came away from it just a little soured by that. And you're right, I didn't quite see that. I'm a little embarrassed.
I think that
well done, sir.
Well, thank you. I think that the expansion, I mean, I know we're not really talking about the expansions for this list, but I think the expansion might help a little bit with your concerns. I know that there's one, they add one new potion ingredient, and that is always conditional to the board state. So I think it becomes more valuable in certain aspects. So like, I think the longer you play, if you pull one of those, it tends to be more valuable, but it kind of just depends.
Okay. All right, cool. Ryan, convince me I've always been wrong about something with your number 4.
I don't know. You might be on side. You might be surprised it's in a top 10 list. My number 4 is Tiny Epic.
Wait, no, don't say. Shea, should we guess?
I'm going to guess the only one.
Well, it can't be Pirates because that's not available yet. I'm going to guess Kingdoms.
I'm going to guess Galaxies.
All right.
It's in fact Accountants. No, that's my dream game. I don't know why they haven't made it, but Shea's correct.
Galaxies, all right.
Galaxies, and Shea, I'm with you. I really like the sci-fi stuff. I adore Tiny Epic Galaxies. I love it so much. First, the form factor is spectacular. I can bring it camping or to the beach, and I have, in fact, done it many times. I love that there's so much game in a little box. And what is the game? Well, it's a Yahtzee, space Yahtzee kind of thing where you're rolling dice.
Space Yahtzee! I like that.
Rolling dice, keeping some, rolling more. So it's like the same kind of mechanic that you'll find in King of Tokyo if you played that, or Yahtzee. And with the dice, there are planet cards on the table, and you move your ships to those planet cards. You can either activate the planet cards for their powers, or you can race around the orbital edge of those planets, and if you're the one who wins the race, you get the card and its power to keep for the rest of the game. It's cool, it's simple, it's fun, I love it. I introduce it to new players. If there's a brand new person to board games and they want to play something, that's the one I'll recommend. I love it, I adore it.
Yeah, I cannot find fault with that at all. At all. Fantastic little game.
That's another one.
Would you go with the original one, or would you go with the new
Super
tiny
tiny.
or super tiny Epic
Yeah.
Galaxies or whatever it is?
I have never been so compelled to buy something I already own than seeing that game. But the one thing, the drawback, they should have put the expansion out in the same format, because then I'd buy them both. I don't like the
of
idea of
course.
having it without the expansion.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, that's an unassailable pick. That's an excellent pick. Really great game. If Jen were here, she might be chewing me out for not having put it on my list. Now that I think about it, yeah, it's near flawless.
It's another
I
one of
still
those games
prefer
that
Tiny Epic Defenders is still my favorite of the group, but yeah, Galaxies is amazing too.
I played that a long time ago, and I remember really, really liking it, and I just haven't played it since. I think I need to get it to the table again, because I definitely remember enjoying it.
Yeah, you won't regret it. It's just... Oh, and you forgot the other thing. Hey, you rolled some nice dice over there. That's interesting to me on my turn as well.
Yes.
There's that kind of
Crucial
overlap
mechanic.
also.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. All right. That was number 4. Excellent. Number 3. Shea, go. Go
Number
for Shea.
3. Number 3 for me. So I wanted to give you a little bit of shade for picking Pandemic Legacy, but I can't do that because my number 3 is Gloomhaven.
Okay.
Now, and that is, while that doesn't have exactly the same legacy aspects, I think that is even more. People might think that is even more of a one and done kind of game.
Yes.
And I have played a lot of Gloomhaven. I have pretty much finished. You don't really finish the story, but I've.
Have you finished the main storyline yet?
I haven't finished the main storyline, yes, and there's a bunch of other side quests that I haven't quite done yet. But I would have no problem wiping the board, completely starting again, because there's so many characters that I haven't played.
Yes.
There's so many combinations of characters that we haven't played.
Yep.
And I have played almost the entirety of my Gloomhaven experience 2-player, and I think it works great at 2-player.
Yes.
But I also wouldn't mind trying it out at 3-player. Maybe if
Yes.
I've in a bunker and we have all the time in the world, playing it at 4-player. I think that that's going to be a really rewarding experience, trying all the different versions of it and also trying all the different characters. So even though it is a story and you move through it and you can finish it, I don't have a problem playing it again. Yeah, you put stickers on the board, but you can just keep track of what you have and don't have access to.
Or by the
You do
removable
put stickers on the
sticker pack.
cards. That's a little bit more permanent.
You do put stickers on the cards. That's true. I mean, again,
But
I
it
don't
doesn't
think
make
it's-
the characters unplayable. It just
Yeah.
means, hey, this is what this particular player class is like now.
exactly.
Isn't there a refreshable sticker pack?
There is. I
There
mean,
is, but that would be considered an expansion.
Right,
Yeah.
we're not allowed. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's entirely necessary. I mean, it's nice, but I don't think that you really need it. I think that you can do just fine just writing a list of what you have and don't have. The stickers on the cards, I agree, does change things a little bit, but it's not hard to say that, like, okay, I'm playing this character for the first time. I know I don't have these bonuses. Or just
you can
peel off
see
the
that they're stickers.
you know?
You can.
Yeah, exactly. They're
not like they
They're
very
sneak up
obvious.
on
not,
you.
they're not fooling anybody, though.
And for a while at least, you can peel off those stickers and put them on when you need to. They're pretty
I
generous.
will say
with-
the glue on their stickers is hardcore, though.
it is a little bit
compared
little bit
to
tougher.
Pandemic, where they could almost come off in a slight breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say though that, like, because of the glossiness of the cards, I mean, I've never tried to take the sticker off the card, so I would maybe test it and see, but it shouldn't be that bad. But again, you take it off, like, sure, you maybe
put the
damage the
stickers
card a
on.
little bit, but
If you were to come over to our house and play our Quattrel, he's a very different Quattrel than yours. Because of the choices I made leveling him up.
for sure.
And that now defines what that player class is like. And to me, spoiler, I'm going to skip ahead. My number 3 is Gloomhaven.
oh, awesome.
Totally.
Nice. We matched
Our
on the same
first
number, too.
overlap. Our first simultaneous.
Nice.
Years ago, I had claustrophobia because I really wanted a dungeon crawl. And, well, Gloomhaven is the ultimate dungeon crawl that destroys all other dungeon crawls. So, of course, I had to. I have finished the storyline. We have played probably only through I think we've played 6 of the potential races, so much more. But even still, I could go back and play any mission I've already played with the exact same character class I've played, but these character classes have so much variety built into them. The different ways you can spec them out. I could play the same character combination in the same level half a dozen times and get a different experience every single time because of all the amazing amount of variety and items and abilities in this game. And the core gameplay is so elevated above its peers because the whole thing is so simple. I've got a deck of cards. This represents me. Once I run out of cards, I'm done. So you've got this constant war of attrition as its time is running out. I'm sorry, I stole the limelight from you, but I love Gloomhaven so much. I'm just doing it.
No, it's good.
And it's my channel.
And you brought up the point that I forgot to mention, which is that every time you level up, you're adapting your character in a certain way. So you're going down a different path. So you play even that same character again. You start them over. You can choose the other path, or
yes,
not that
exactly.
there's one
and there
or
are
two,
multiple paths within paths for these characters, and different ways you can combine them. But so you've got your hand of cards. When you run out of them, it's done. Every turn, you're going to pick 2 cards. One, you use a high. Because all these cards have 4 different actions you can place on them. This is the ultimate multi-use card. I'm playing this one for this use of these 4 uses. I'm playing this one for the other use. But the thing that makes this game sing for us is the imperfect communication. When I pick my cards, I can't tell you what I'm going to pick. You can't tell me what you're going to pick. All I can do is just kind of talk vaguely about, well, I'm going to very quickly run over there and try to hit those 2 guys with a fireball. And I'm going to go as fast as I can. Hopefully, I'll be able to get in that position before they go. And that's all I can tell you.
That I want to experience with 3 and 4 players, because it becomes pretty easy with 2 players to kind of predict the initiative order.
It is true. It's hard not to just start talking about, well, okay, I know what you mean by really fast. You mean anywhere from 17 to 25. That's your speed. Yeah.
But when you have more players, and it's like, okay, I'm going kind of fast, you're going slow-ish, and it's like, cool, we have different definitions for that, but it's
almost like the mind in that regard.
Yeah.
I have actually played it as a 4-player game with Isaac Childress and his wife, which was actually very, very cool. And I could play this game till doomsday. I love it to pieces. The cooperative nature, the imperfect communication, the infinite playability. Because, hey, even if you get sick of all the... what is it? I think there's around 100 missions that come in the box, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
It has a random dungeon generator, which I played and is actually fun. And if that weren't enough, if you, before you go in, get out your dot matrix printer, you can print out like another 30 missions that Isaac Childress, the designer, has given away for free. It's insane.
Yeah. There's so much to this game that is theoretically a legacy game. People always ask, like, I made a how to play video for Gloomhaven, and people ask me what do you do when you finish it? Like, can you replay it? And I'm like, you won't finish it.
You don't finish this. This is a lifestyle game. It definitely is. In the same way, you will never finish. If you get into it, you'll never finish Magic the Gathering. You will never finish Gloomhaven. And so that's why for both of us, it's a no-brainer. I can't wait to see what you would have put higher on your list. I have very specific reasons it's at number 3, that number 2 and number 1 did things that were even more important to me than what Gloomhaven does. But Gloomhaven, actually, coincidentally, I didn't realize this. It's my number 3 game of all time, and it's my number 3 here in the bunker. So I guess we move on to you, Ryan. Oh, Ryan, you don't tell me you haven't played Gloomhaven.
Sorry, it's called what, Gloomhaven? Doesn't
why would you want a haven for your gloom? That seems like something you want to get rid of.
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar. But my number 3 is Trickerion.
Of course it is.
Yes, sir.
My only question is, why isn't this your number 1? I can't wait to see what's coming.
Wait till you hear my number 1. No, Trickerion is my birthday game in that it's so long and takes so much commitment to set up. It's a 15-minute ordeal just to pick your character and your side characters and get everything going. I'm only allowed to play this on my birthday, basically. And I actually rope people, like my friend Sean, poor Sean, I had him come over and play it with an expansion with me. That's a true friend. And he doesn't play board games at all. But I was like, Sean, it's my birthday.
You're a monster.
Awful. But I just love the heck heck out of the game. Really quickly, if you don't know what it is, it's a worker placement game where the innovation is that your workers have action points on them. So not all workers are created equal, where they usually are in a worker placement game. You got a bunch of different depots to attend to in a magical city that's kind of like the Prestige, where there's competing magicians who are out for each other's throats, and you're trying to gather the resources to put together tricks in order to perform them at a theater, in order to get fame and glory and money, become the most famous magician, and get the magical Trickerion shard that the old dirty magician Dalgard has bequeathed. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
is.
Awesome.
And I mean, you can't sing this game. This game has 5 games worth of innovations woven into it.
Yeah.
I know it's just a worker placement game. Haven't I played? You have not played a worker placement game like this. The initiative on the workers combined with the special powers, combined with the secret orders that you distribute every.
Oh yeah, it's a programming
at the same
game.
Time.
Yeah, people use the term point salad. This is like mechanic salad, which could be seen
like
as like
that.
pejorative, but like I love that. I like my stuff complicated and mid to heavy, and that, I mean that scratches so many itches, and I'm a pretty itchy fellow.
Yeah, I don't remember if I put this on my most influential games of the last decade. If I didn't, I thought really hard about it. This is from publisher Mind Clash. Mm-hmm. And prior to Trickerion coming out, I think the idea of a game like Trickerion would have been laughed out of the room. Because I refer to them now as kitchen sink games.
Yeah,
sure.
And
Gloomhaven is one as well. Everything goes in the box. Everything goes in this box. It is a glorious, gluttonous excess of components and mechanisms, and the developers just don't care. If they could have come up with more stuff, they would have thrown that in too.
Yep.
And that is what Mind Clash does now, and it's led to huge success for them, and I believe it has changed the fundamental course of the industry, because I think we're seeing more and more of these kind of kitchen sink games now. Gloomhaven is one. Trickerion sets the stage, or primes the audience for, you know what, I know you're used to games that are elegant and pure and they really focus on a couple of things and do it really well, and Trickhaven says, hold my beer.
Yeah,
I just say Trickhaven. Because it's the two games combined.
Yeah. But this is Mind Clash's MO, right? I just they sent me Anachrony and I busted that open. I was like, what is even happening? But then I took the time and I sat down with the family and we played it, and that's amazing too. I mean, there's the only reason it's probably not on this list is because I haven't played it enough. Once I do, it's great.
What is going on in your house that you are making your family play Anachrony and Trickerion?
I'm a bad man.
Have 2 preteen and teenage girls. You are a monster.
They'll love you for saying that, by the way. I think Cassie's in the background holding up a sign saying "Send help," isn't she? Okay.
All right. Well, that says a lot about your household. All right. Well, cool. I knew Trickerion was going to be your list. I thought it was going to be your number 1. So Ryan, tell me your number 2. We need to get to this.
So my number 2 is Alien Frontiers. Wait, Shea, hold on.
I'm trying to remember Alien Frontiers.
It's not Alien Frontiers.
It is Alien Frontiers.
It is Alien Frontiers?
It is absolutely Alien Frontiers.
Oh my gosh, okay.
My former favorite game of all time, Alien Frontiers, by Game Salute, now Starling Games. Poop on them forever. Yeah. Alien Frontiers is a... it's funny that they kind of did the Terraforming Mars thing many years before Terraforming Mars did Terraforming Mars, except they did it with more of a... I love the aesthetic of it. So it's like Rocket Age sort of 50s retrofuturism with big chrome pointy rocket ships, and the style is just absolutely wonderful. And what you're doing is
Heinlein Asimov classic 50s 60s
absolutely love it. And so you're rolling dice, the dice are your spaceships, so it's a dice worker placement game. You're putting them in different depots around this planet that you're trying to colonize, Planet Maxwell, that's named after the artists, and you're trying to put colonies on the board. And now I bought this game probably in its first edition when the colonies were little opaque wooden discs, like wooden hemispheres, and then they upgraded them with an upgrade pack that I think is now standard with the game, which is probably the greatest game component I've ever seen, which are little plastic domed colony cities that you put on the planet, and they're unbelievable, and it just ups the charm level of the game.
Oh yeah, that game is so far ahead of its time in terms of production values.
Oh yeah, it's tremendous. I love it.
It is great. I haven't thought about that game in years.
Right, it's fallen off the radar.
And you're right. That is definitely a worthy So much variation, so much variety in that game.
You know when it fell off my radar was when I kickstarted like a new edition of it, and they took 2.5 or 3 years to get it to me. Ooh. And now I was so mad. And then in those 2.5 or 3 years, they put out expansions on Kickstarter for it without even fulfilling the. Oh my god! I can't tell you.
That's wild.
Poop on them. Poop.
That's how you broach the entire topic. It's true. I'm sure you're not alone. But you're right. It is a brilliant game. And the design. I don't remember the designer. I think his second game was Pay Dirt, which was actually a really good little.
Hold on, it's on my bookshelf right here. The designer is he's not on the side of the box. Sorry.
So long ago that we did not recognize designers back then that this game came out. Ooh. But yeah, great dice worker placement game. I think probably a little bit too mean-spirited for me and Jen. I mean, there are some pretty cutthroat moves you can pull.
Yeah, those alien cards are pretty bad, and it's really blocky off a spot kind of thing. And if somebody gets there before you, there's some alien cards that let you kick people's dice out. Yeah, I hear that. But
still, brilliant. Absolutely, it is definitely one for the ages. It makes me happy to think back on it. It's a great game. That's a good number 2. That's a great number 2. But not as good as my number 2.
Oh well, we'll see about that.
Which is of course, I said earlier I promised there would be more beige. The beige has arrived. It's the Castles of Burgundy.
Oh hey, yeah. Beige in the house.
Although a bit less beigey than it otherwise would be because I'm talking about the 10th anniversary edition.
Oh, is that the one where they took highlighter markers and just scribbled on the board?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Oh, you do not want the beige? We will show you not the beige. Please, guys, beige is totally your wheelhouse. Right. Personally, I prefer the look of the original. I mean, I appreciate they tried to juice it up for the 10th anniversary edition, but I always kind of like this stately, kind of classic, understated look of the original. But regardless,
I think you mean boring. Do you mean boring?
It is such a brilliant design. It looks appropriate to what it is because it is the ultimate example of I am just a middle management, Renaissance era technocrat trying to push resources from point X to point Y to ensure that this region of France develops to full effect. It is not exactly dice. It's a tile drafting game and tile laying game driven by dice, and that's the heart of its brilliance. There are so many games that come across my table that I just want to shout at the designer, go back and look at Burgundy. What is wrong with you? Burgundy solved dice years ago. Stefan Feld is the king for a reason because every round, hey, I got a couple of dice, I roll them. The dice that I get a 6 and a 5. That determines what I'm going to be able to do on my turn. Except if, a 6 and a 5 are useless to me. I totally needed that thing that was in the number 2 depot, and I needed to put it in the number 3 slot. Stupid dice, I hate you. No problem. Just say, these dice can buy workers that I can then spend in a future round to use to make sure the dice do what I want, and if I don't use them, I score points. Why don't developers do this? This is so obvious.
I did a video on the top 5 things I love about board games, and dice mitigation was one of the things in there.
Yes.
Any game with dice should have it.
Yep. And this was on my list originally, and the reason it comes in so high, if I could only own 2 games, it would be What's Coming and this. It's specifically because of the 10th anniversary. As Shea pointed out earlier, I am kind of cheating a little bit.
I think that's a cheat.
Because this is only a big box edition.
Yeah.
Because it's got 10 years worth of little mini expansions, tiny expansions, but a ton of them. And because, I wouldn't say, I don't say it has any more content than Trickerion does, let's say. It's just that a game coming out today, post-Trickerion, post-Gloomhaven, players expect everything in the kitchen sink thrown in the game, and that's what Castle Burgundy 10th Anniversary Edition is. And by the way, it's not the 10th anniversary of the game, it's the 10th anniversary of the publisher?
Of Aaliyah,
No, it's the 20th anniversary, that's what it was.
And it isn't quite even the 20th, I think it was like the 18th or 19th, but...
Something weird. Yeah. Honestly, I do think the original version of Burgundy strictly speaking, is the better game. The board is more readable. There were some very questionable graphic design choices that were made. The way the ship track ends up dovetailing directly into the scoreboard. And Jen and I played in like, oh, how many points do I have? Oh, wait, no, that's my ship token. Just weird, dumb stuff like that. And the tiles are now super hard to read, where we never had a problem with them before because they tried to put more art on the tile and therefore squeeze the effects of the tiles even tinier. But I don't care. Well, obviously I love it to pieces because it's my number 2, and the core gameplay is so brilliant. And with this 10th anniversary edition, or maybe it's 20th, whatever anniversary edition it is, there's so much in that box. I could play it forever, and we love it 2-player. We love it higher player counts. I think this and Gloomhaven are the 2 longest games that are on my list. I mean, this is definitely sit down and just play and soak it in for hours, and I'll never get tired of it. Castles of Burgundy.
Solid pick. I did a video right before this one on my channel that was a list of 5 games that didn't quite make it onto my top 10, and Burgundy was in there. And the only reason it didn't make it in is because I'm a huge theme guy, and it's so deadly dull. But mechanically, it's excellent. It's exceptional.
That's the same thing for me. Is that like it's hard for me to put a game on a list if I don't like looking at it.
Fair. That's totally fair.
That's fair.
It's hard. I just don't like looking at that game.
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna spend hours like playing it over and over and over again, I need it to be at least a little visually appealing.
Yeah. Did
I'm a little shallow in that
checked
way.
out the updated the anniversary edition where they completely gave it a huge makeover?
I haven't checked out the updated version. I'll definitely take a look at it. Though from what you're talking about, it doesn't sound like it's an improvement across the board.
Basically, if you buy the original game with a box of Crayolas, you're good.
It was a valiant attempt, but it almost feels garish.
Yeah.
Its presentation now.
Gaudy.
And I wonder how much of that is because it's been around for so long in its very beige pastel. Look, we're a Monet painting here, but with the saturation turned down 70%. Yeah. That's what you're getting with us. Yeah. And now it's just like this riotous explosion of color, and it's like, I don't know if this makes it better. It's
almost like it's wearing its insecurities on its sleeve, right?
Yeah.
Like it got teased for so long in elementary school for being so beige, and when it hit high school, it's like, look out, world, I got color, and you're like, whoa,
I got highlights in my hair.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm wearing neon.
I have blush. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you know what? It's freaking Star Trek: The Original Series. Which was designed, back in the 60s, because at that point, Technicolor TVs were only starting to show up and so they said, look, we are going to blow this color out. We are going to burn retinas of everybody across the world because we finally got color. So the brightest of bright red shirts and red walls everywhere. That is what it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
sorry,
green
that's not
women.
there. But I'm just happy I've combined 2 of my favorite things in the world, board games and classic Star Trek. That's awesome. Euros, Stefan Feld in Star Trek. Yes,
I'd play a Stefan Feld Star Trek game.
Yeah.
I
all right. Anyway, that was me. That was my number 2.
This is just a rumor. I heard Stefan Feld was designing the Shrek Builder. Is that a
yes?
Yes. I'm interested.
Don't spread that around. Don't tell anybody. That's a secret.
We have to put this entire list on hold now.
Yeah.
See how that plays out. All right, Shea, what's your number 2?
All right, so my number 2 actually surprised me a little bit. I knew it was going to be on the list somewhere, but the more I thought about it, the higher it's gone. And that's because, specifically, the past couple months, it's kind of like we've been in our bunker. And I have...
Oh, that's a good point. Wow, this is more timely than I thought. I didn't even think of that.
And so I was thinking about it, and I realized I have played this one game more than any other in my collection during the past couple months. Okay. And that has made me realize, I think this game definitely would last test time. I keep wanting to replay it over and over again, and it just kept getting higher and higher on my list. It's not going to hit number 1, but my number 2 is Spirit Island. I love Spirit Island, and it's not because it's a perfect game. I think if you're looking for a cooperative game, and you're especially if you're just getting into the hobby, I think Pandemic is a better choice. But I think Spirit Island is a lot more replayable because there's so much variety in what you're doing. Each of the different spirits that you play, and so Spirit Island is a cooperative game. It's similar to Pandemic, but it's instead of doctors fighting diseases. You are spirits fighting off colonizers from invading your island and attacking the native inhabitants. And it has so much flavor to it. You're talking about how Castle of Burgundy is the beigest thing. This is one of the most colorful things. It's beautiful. Everything about the design is well put together. I would say that I would love it if the card art was a little bit bigger, because there's some great drawings in there, but there's a lot of info on each of the cards. But there's so much variety in everything that you have that it changes every time I play. And so it has that pandemic structure of like the disease, or the colonists are coming in, they're multiplying, they're getting bigger, it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem as you go, but you're also getting stronger, which I really appreciate. I like in games where the stakes get higher and higher, but your ability to fight them also increases as you play, and Spirit Island does that really well. So you start off as a spirit with some basic powers, but as you go, as you put more presence on the board, these little tokens that allow you to affect more of the island, but also give you more energy to work with and more cards that you can play per turn. As all of that happens, you get stronger and stronger as the enemy gets stronger. And by the end of it, you're playing these really big powers to combat the aggressive expansion of your enemies. Yep. And so there's the different spirits that you can play at. That provides a lot of variety. But there's also a number of things that you can add to your opponent to change how they play. There's the base game where they just act normally, but there's also enemy identities. You're fighting against England now. You're fighting against Sweden. You're fighting against Brandenburg, Prussia, and each of them plays very differently and has different levels that you can add on if you want to make it even more difficult in different ways. So each one will have a very basic thing that they do, and then there's going to be levels 1 through 7 that add a new rule for them, or a new bonus for them, or a penalty for you, some way to make it even harder. So you can tailor that to how difficult you want to do. And what I've been doing with my roommate, we've been playing and just progressively trying to get harder and harder and see how much we can do. And as we're getting better at the game, we're finding that we're better able to fight even more and more difficult opponents.
I thought you were going to say we become better people, but no.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
The real Spirit Island was the colonists we evicted along the way.
Yeah.
Very much not
good choice.
But yeah, so I really, really like it.
Yeah. It's a cooperative area control game.
Yes.
At its heart. And just that in and of itself is a very enticing idea. But this is definitely, like we were talking about a bit ago, this is another kitchen sink game.
Yeah.
Where, this game coming out 10 years ago was unthinkable. All the stuff, the box is packed. And so it's a really great choice. And yeah, Jen, I really like it a lot too. Basically, what if Settlers of Catan had the Smoke Monster from Lost, and you get to play the Smoke Monster?
Yeah.
That's just such a crazy concept.
And that's how I always sell it whenever I'm teaching someone new. It's like, because Settlers of Catan. Yeah. Pretty much everyone does at this point. And I say, what if you were the island? What if you were Catan and you didn't want to be settled?
Yep.
And then that, I think, is such a, it ends up being such a great hook that everyone who, when people hear that, they're like, oh, okay, interesting.
It's the plot of
intrigued.
Beetlejuice, really.
In a way, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
I
man,
assume
now
you
I
would
want to play
play it as well, right?
But...
I played Spirit Island, yeah. But
yeah.
like I say, I don't mess with cooperative games. I've yet to meet one that I've enjoyed, and so it just goes on the pile of ones that I don't like.
Wow, really?
Don't like cooperative games at all.
Even something like this, where yes, we're cooperating, but there is clearly a present threat that you could consider represents another player.
I mean, it's the same as any cooperative. I mean, I cut my teeth in cooperative games with Shadows over Camelot, and it just felt like in any cooperative game, it's like, here's the big scary deck of bad crap that happens to you card after card after card. It's like, oh, there's a blizzard. Oh, your face falls off, and I just find it wearying, and I like it with a game night. If you're playing a competitive game, you're gonna have one person very happy and everybody else sad, or maybe the second place is happy because they got second place, and then the not last place player is going to be happy because they weren't last. So maybe you'll end up with one sad player who ended up in last place. But with a cooperative game, either everybody beats the game, which your first few plays isn't a foregone conclusion, or everybody loses, so the whole table's upset. And so I'd rather have...
It's a shared experience, though. Like, there's the camaraderie in that when you lose together.
It's like a shared experience of getting kicked in the face repeatedly. I don't like it. I just don't like them.
It's for you, it's not game night if... it's only game night if only one person is crying at the end of the night.
That's what I find interesting, because I feel like if you're playing competitive game, and I like competitive games just fine, but there is the guarantee that someone is going to be upset. Whereas if you're playing a cooperative game, there is at least the chance that everyone will be happy.
But I agree, but I think the higher chance, especially your first few outings with a cooperative game, the higher chance is that everyone's going to be upset. So you're going to have me fail until maybe the fourth time I play the game, we're going to succeed. That's just not enough success, not enough happiness for my liking.
So that's why I really like Spirit Island, because I feel like it starts you off with a basic game that is a challenge for new players, but I'd say you have a much better chance at beating it than a lot of cooperative games that are just like, this is the game, and you're either going to win or you lose.
Yeah,
and then you ramp
that goes
up
down
the
to
difficulty.
My specific problem with Spirit Island is that we got 3/4 of the way through the scenario, and I felt like it was a foregone conclusion. It was like, yeah, it'll take a few more turns, and we'll win.
There's no coming back. And
right, or yeah,
I would say that I would agree. That's probably its biggest issue. For any cooperative game that is going to take you upwards of 3 hours, I mean, I do think generally a co-op game, or for me and Jen, is going to serve us better if it's like an hour or less. I mean, maybe it's just because we started with Pandemic that, because putting in 3+ hours and then losing at the end is dispiriting Island. There's no choice about it.
I mean,
very
sure.
Good, very good.
If remember what my number 9 was, it was Eldritch Horror, so I clearly don't have a huge problem with that.
You wore your masochistic tendencies on your sleeve right from the get-go. That's true.
But a thing I like about Spirit Island, though, and this is, I actually hold this true for a lot of entertainment in general, is the journey is a lot more important to me than the ending.
Okay.
Like, I remember this coming up, I mean, bring it over to like video games. People had a huge problem with Mass Effect 3 of like the ending of that, and I'm getting a little bit niche, I guess, on a board game channel, but I loved it because I loved the journey of it. The ending was fine, and it's kind of the same thing with Spirit Island. The ending, and I'll absolutely agree with this. Occasionally, it can get to the point where it is a foregone conclusion. The last round, I usually don't play because, not to say that like I don't bother. It's just that we'll look at the board and say, can we win before the enemy takes their turn? Yep. Yes, cool. We do this and this and this. All right, cool. Then we do that, and we don't bother to like figure out the entire turn because of the timing of the game, where the spirits play their cards, they do their fast powers. The game stuff happens. There's events. There's fear. There's the enemy's turn, and then you do your slow powers. And it's like, okay, cool. Can we win with the fast powers? Yes. Awesome. We've done it. And that is a somewhat, like, it can be a little unsatisfying if you're really hoping for that big like final turn. But for me, what I love about it is all of the turns leading up to that. How do you get from being like just barely treading water and fighting off a very powerful opponent to crawling your way into strength and eventually getting to the point where you actually can fight back? That's what I'm playing for.
It is a good point. I mean, there are few co-op games, I think, that have that sense of escalation to quite the same degree. I mean, in any co-op game, we get more powerful. We get new items and stuff like that. But, yeah, you're right. Spirit Island, we are literally just mud and sticks at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And we are, terrifying forces of nature. That's a good point. So
I do like the way
it's the journey, not the destination.
Yes, though. I mean, I'm not saying the destination is completely unsatisfying. I do still enjoy it, but the journey is so great for me that the mildness of the destination doesn't bother me at all. But I can understand how it would.
One thing I'll say in the game's defense, not that it needs to be defended because it's really popular, but one thing I liked about it was that it's one of the few games where the variable player powers, you actually feel like what you're made of. So the fire spirit rips through the island as quickly as possible, destroying as much stuff like fire does. I played the rock guy, who's just very plodding and very slow moving. And my friend Derek played the water spirit, who just kind of like splashes up from the shore and drowns people, which is really hilarious. So I like that it all felt really thematic, and the people played the way they were supposed to play, and they felt like elemental powers. That was cool.
The thematic connection is very, very well done. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and few games can match it in that regard. That's a good point. All right, that was number 2. We're here.
Hey,
please tell me your cameras haven't died a half an hour ago.
I'm
Mine has died
somehow
like 6
still
times.
sputtering along.
Okay. Yeah. Well, number 1. Ryan, I've been very patiently waiting because I thought I already knew 2 turns ago. What is your number 1?
You thought you did. This is the moment of the video that you've all fast-forwarded to from the beginning.
Indeed.
And my camera just went off.
Yes!
Oh, perfect timing.
Yes!
Hold on. Cassie's got my back. Thank you,
Mine's going to turn off right when I start mine. I'm feeling it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm feeling
This
it.
is the second time in the video my camera's turned off the moment I start speaking about something.
Yeah.
Okay, give us 2 seconds. My number 1 game of all time is Everdell.
Yep. I knew it. That's what I thought was number 2, which means I'm going to have to go back and silence myself because I spoiled this earlier.
Can't be number 2 because nothing's going to beat it for me. Not currently. There's nothing out there that I would rather play. So
you have got to explain yourself because I will not deny it is a super charming little worker placement game, cute as a button components, and nice solid combo gameplay, but nothing compares to this.
Like Sinead said, brother, nothing compares. And, oh man, we're trolling out the old references now. People are going to be like, what? They'll be like on Wikipedia, how do you spell Sinead?
I'll do a TikTok or something to get them back in.
Yes.
Totally.
That's why you're here.
So yeah, he's the young
Dance,
blood,
millennial, dance.
So Everdell, quickly, just to sell it if you've never heard of it or don't know much about it, it's a tableau building game that's set in a anthropomorphic animal-themed world, kind of like if you ever watch or read the book Redwall or any movie by Disney. So the animals walk around and they wear pants and they build things, and you're trying to build a city of up to 15 cards. There's some card drafting in the middle of the table, and you've got cards in your hand. And the really cool thing that I like, and there's worker placement too, but that's kind of like, it's like a really tight, really difficult worker placement. You have very few workers. You get more as the game goes on, but it's a real struggle to manage those resources. The thing that I really like about it is that at its heart, the game is about procrastination. So the longer you can stave off your turn, it's one of these games kind of like Small World where, or Charterstone, where at some point you're going to have like a rest period and recall all your workers and sort of simmer down and have a period where you do nothing. And in Everdell, the longer you can stave off that rest period, even at the expense of the strategy you thought you were building towards, I have found that if you can just eke out one more turn where you just put a card out that maybe you didn't want, or you just get to do something else, grab a card from the common pool, if you can just do that and prolong it as long as possible, you'll do much better than the other players in the game. It's a game about procrastination. I love procrastinating. I love the daisy chaining effects, the comboing of cards. I'm always discovering something new about it. I just got the expansions, and when I played with the expansions, there's a whole new combo of cards that I'd never noticed before that made me just completely triple the second place player's score. And I was just like, whoa, this is amazing. I love it. I love it to death. I love that game. And you know what? I wanted to say about Everdell, the one thing that I really, really like about it, I'm a big theme guy. And if there's a game that has a theme I really like, and I want to be there, like I desperately long to actually put myself in that setting and be among the characters who are there doing the things that they're doing, it just creates such a sense of place, and it's a place that I want to be. I mentioned Scythe on my other video about games that didn't quite make it into the top 10 list. I don't want to be anywhere near Scythe. I don't want to be near the big stinky oil-burning mechs. I don't want to be near communism. I don't want to thresh wheat. But man, do I ever want to stay...
Off, so I'm going to have to fix that. And that's going to take a little bit longer than it does for you. So give me a minute or two.
Oh, sure. Okay. Should we pause?
No. If you can remember your sentence, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, all right, folks. Ryan has failed tech-wise, I don't know, 5 or 6 times now. So finally, Shea decided to join the party right in the middle of, he was building up to a huge crescendo, this big soliloquy of his love for, I'm sorry, what was it again?
I can't even remember. It was Telestrations?
There you go.
That, yeah.
Right, Telestrations.
Nailed it.
What I was saying was that Everdell has such a sense of place that it's a place I really want to be. With Scythe, I don't want to be anywhere near the gigantic mechs that are burning oil and spewing smoke. I don't want to be threshing wheat, and I don't want to be under a communist system in post-war Euro wherever, right? I don't want to be anywhere near there. But I do definitely want to stay in an inn run by a badger wearing pants.
That's fair.
So
I can't argue with that.
Right, there is no argument that anyone could possibly come up with against my badgers wearing pants.
And this is you too, right? I mean, this is your love for this game. This isn't, you know, I'm throwing this on the list because my family loves it.
No, this is. I mean, I would have to.
out of sync with everything else you talked about up to
It's
today.
not though. Okay, and it's you say that, but I think that it gets a bit of a bum rap for two reasons. First, people say it's too random, and to the people who say that, I say, sit down with me and play Everdell, and I will school you with any opening hand in any starting position. Doesn't matter.
Right,
it's not random at all.
That complaint comes from the fact that there are plenty of cards in the deck where to leverage this card to good effect, this other card must come into play, and it may never come into play. The game is random. That's the point, right? That there's too many. Well, you have to get all three of these things for it to score it. That's the random complaint?
It's more like I get my starting hand and I want to build my cards. Yeah, it's a little bit of it. Yeah, but there are mechanics to fish through the deck to find the card you want. But what I find is that's not the best way to play at all. If you have this building and you think, oh, or this critter, and I need to build this construction, and I'm going to stick to my guns, and that by the end of the game, oh, my building never came out. Meh, big pout. You're a bad player. You're just bad at Everdell. If you want to be a good Everdell player, you play opportunistically. Like I say, you're staving off that rest turn, and you're taking any opportunity you can get. If there's a card in the meadow and you can afford it and you wanted to do something else, build the card in the meadow. It's the better play every single time. So you kind of have to constantly deconstruct your strategy and build towards something else. And if it's the kind of thing where you really want to see long term and build towards something, that's not that game. It's really like a turn by turn, what is the very best thing that I can do right now?
So I haven't had a chance to play Everdell. I know it's been on my list for a long time. But would you say that the replayability from Everdell comes from the fact that you just have different cards each time, or just because it's a good game, or is there something specifically that like really changes the game state every time you play that makes it hold up to repeated playing?
The worker placement spots, a suite of them are the same every single game, but 4 of them change every single game.
Okay.
So that's one thing that changes. Another thing that changes in the base game is there are missions, and the 4 of them are dealt out randomly every single game. So those two setup pieces are completely random. Your turn order is random, so that means the number of cards that you get is different depending on where you're sitting at the table, and of course the actual cards you get are random. And then the common pool of cards that gets dealt out, there's 8 of them in the middle of the board, and those are going to be random. And I remember what I was going to say. The other objection that people have with Everdell is kind of like when people dismiss animation, they think, oh, it's a cartoon, so it's for kids. Or like, oh, there's furry animals in this, and there couldn't possibly be any depth to it. It's a 3-hour game. Like, we easily chew up 3 hours playing that game, and there's meat to it. There's meat on that bone. It's not just a frivolous little, like, kid game, like a Haba game at all. It's not to knock Haba, but like it's substance. I feel there's substance there in the game.
Yeah, it's closer to a Race for the Galaxy than...
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a tableau builder. Yeah, it's very close to Race for the Galaxy.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool. Wow. I mean, I knew you liked it. I didn't know that much.
I don't merely like it. I love it.
What about the tree? What about the tree that ruins playability for half of the board?
The tree is preposterous and ridiculous. And you were talking about games, Rahdo, where you couldn't have done this until this game came out. You said Trickerion was the kitchen sink thing that sort of set a trend. Everdell set that trend with the gigantic constructible cardboard thing. So right now I'm playing Dead Reckoning, and what does it have? It has a giant constructible cardboard pirate ship on the table. Right, so they definitely have set a trend with that, because I think what publishers are realizing now is if you want to get your game noticed and it's at a convention, it's got to have table presence, right?
Yeah.
And one way for it to have table presence is to have a big Wingspan did the same thing. They have a big constructible cardboard bird feeder dice tower, right? So it's a strategy, and I think Everdell set the pace on that.
Two-dimensional board games are a thing of the past.
Yeah, indeed.
All 3D. It's a bold new dimension for us. All right.
I'm looking forward to the 4D games personally, but
Shea,
yes,
top that. What's your number one?
My number one. People who know me, people who know my channel, are not going to be surprised by this at all.
Yes.
My number one is Twilight Empirium 4th edition.
Number 4.
Yeah,
number 3 is garbage.
Yeah, forget that.
No,
Throw
I
that
mean
thing out.
you can see in the background. I've got 3 and I've got 4 still, but I don't play 3 anymore because I just have the base game, and base game 4th edition is just better than base game 3rd edition. Because
I'm sure those are fighting words in certain circles.
to some extent, but a lot of people who really like
killed in certain
3rd
neighborhoods.
a lot of people who really like 3rd really like it because of the expansions.
Okay.
And I don't have any of the 3rd edition expansions. There aren't any 4th edition expansions yet. But 4th edition packed in a lot of the stuff that 3rd edition had in the expansions. Mainly, there are 7 more alien races in base game 4th than base game 3rd. So there's a lot of different races that you can play. And if you're talking about a game that I can play forever, yeah, Twilight Imperium 4th edition.
One game forever.
That's the thing.
Yeah, one session.
So, okay, here's a thing that I have found. There is a huge divide in Twilight Imperium players. I have...
Wait, before you do that,
Okay.
I mean, this is my channel. A lot of people probably don't know anything about Twilight Imperium.
Fair. Twilight Imperium is a very big game. It's a space-themed game. Everyone is playing as a different alien race that is vying for control of the galactic empire. The previous rulers have been killed, and there's a power vacuum. And so everyone is trying to gather power, and it is a 4X game, so you're expanding, you're getting... you're settling new planets, you're getting new technologies, you're building up massive fleets, you're fighting sometimes, you're negotiating sometimes, and there's a lot of these political cards that sort of change the game as you play it. And on top of that, the way that you actually win is there are a number of objective cards that get revealed every turn. And those will tell you what you want to do in the game specifically to get the points that you need to win the game. And those are different from game to game? Yes. There's a pool of cards, and you're going to be drawing about half of them each game. So you do see a lot of the same stuff, but the order in which they come out is important, and the things that happen, or the cards that come out, definitely change the style of the game. And this game takes all day to play.
Yes.
And this is where the divide is. Because I have never played a game of Twilight Imperium that lasted less than 10 hours.
Holy cow.
Whoa!
Yes. Now, I've only played 5 or 6 player games. You can play it as low as 3, though I don't know that that's... and some people really like that. It's just... For me, it's not worth it unless you're getting the full experience. But it's totally fine.
You're not going to waste enough of your life at 3 players. Come on.
But the thing is, I've heard from so many people, because I taught... Twilight Imperium 4th edition, and I mentioned that it takes a really long time to play. I have heard from so many people who are like, I play it in 6 hours, easy. Maybe 7 or 8 if people are taking a really long time to think about their turns, but it never takes that long for me. And I'm like, how? How do you do? I literally do not understand how this game plays in less than 10.
Both sides of this divide is how.
Yeah, exactly. So it takes a long time, and for me, it takes 10 to 12 hours. I don't play the long version of the game. You can instead of scoring 10 points, you score like 14, I think, and that takes even longer. I don't do that. I just play the regular version. But if I have forever to play games, of course, now is the perfect time for me to play Twilight Imperium. I have all the time in the world. I can explore every different race that I haven't played. We'll see how all the different races work together, work against each other. I can try all the different strategies. I can try to be more aggressive at the beginning of the game. I can try to be less aggressive. I can be nice. I can be mean. There's so much room in this game to try new things, and there's so much time to really work on a strategy that I don't think I'll ever really get tired of it.
You might even get to the point where you could finish it in 6 hours.
Maybe. Who knows?
It's
possible.
Yeah, because the secret is it only lasts 10 hours when you're playing, perhaps.
Yes.
How? I mean, you have to explain this to me. physically, how do you sit there and play a game for 10 hours? 10 plus hours.
It's got to be diapers, Rahdo.
Okay.
No, you
All right,
definitely
I'm
take a
getting close
break
to
in the
that.
middle, but like I don't sit for 10 hours straight. It's like
Yeah.
you play for 4, 5, 6 hours, and then you eat dinner, and then you keep going. And it is one of those games where when it's not your turn, you don't have a lot that you're doing.
Okay.
Turns are pretty quick, so there's not a ton of downtime, but occasionally, especially when people get into a fight, yeah, you have a minute, so you can go off, get a snack, rest your brain a little bit. But I will say, one of my favorite experiences of playing Twilight Imperium is I played a game where instead of a 6-player game, we played a 12-player game where every faction was a team of 2 people. Okay. And this allowed us to have one person focusing on the military aspect of it, getting ships, getting the board, like working on the board state, and the other person working on what you might call the political aspect of it, which was talking to the other teams and like making deals. And we would like have people go into the other room to make like shady deals and figure out how we're gonna play, like how we're gonna ally with each other or who we're gonna attack. And then come back and then pass that information on to the military player. Okay. It was such a wild experience. It took 13 hours, but it was so interesting.
Did you play it over 2 days and everybody went home for the night?
No, we started at 10 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And finished at 11 at night. Yeah.
Nice.
It was wild.
Yeah, I mean, that's hardcore. Okay, so you briefly caught my attention with that it sounds like an outlier story about this special team mode. Yeah. That's intriguing because until you said that, the main question I have for you, because I've been aware of this forever. I know that's the point of this game, is it's insane and you play for a minimum of 6 hours. But what is so special about this game, this experience, that will get somebody to happily, gleefully play for 6, 10, 13 hours straight?
Yes.
What separates it? There's a lot of 4X games out there.
Well, that's the thing, is it is such an epic journey. It's this story that you tell, and this also falls into the middle, like the journey is the point of it. It's not like there are definitely times when the last round is tense and you don't know who's going to win. But the journey from like fledgling alien faction to sprawling galactic empire is so fascinating to me. There's the beginning where you're slowly pushing out, you're getting the planets, you're starting to make tentative deals, you're trading a little bit with other players, everyone's pretending to be nice to each other at the beginning of the game. Then there's first blood, and then one faction attacks each other. That's a feud that lasts throughout the game. You have these hours-long feuds that work together. You have these alliances that end at like surprising moments where someone comes from behind and invades when you were counting them as an ally this entire time. The ups and downs of this game, because and I think the length of it actually intensifies this, because
it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Exactly. You are spending so much time in this world that every connection that you make is that much more meaningful. Like, this isn't just an alliance that we made, 30 minutes ago, and now, you're fighting me now. Okay, that's fine. We've been friends for hours.
This is your life.
Yeah.
Can you put it up against Eclipse for me, Shea?
I have only played Eclipse online once, and I thought it was fine, but I don't think it's the same game. I think someone on the Dice Tower, I think Sam says this. It's like, people say it's Euro Twilight Imperium. It's not. It's a different game. They just look similar. And I'm not against the idea of it. It's like, if you want, a space 4X game in a much shorter time frame, sure. Go play Eclipse. I'm not gonna be mad at anyone who makes that choice. It's just not. That's just not why I'm interested in that. Like, I grew up playing Civilization on the computer and spending weeks playing these campaigns. A 4X game to me should be long. It should be a big journey that you take. And like, I'm never gonna find, there's nothing on the market right now that is going to satisfy that itch like like Twilight Imperium does. So it's just that epic of an experience, and it's one of the very few games where I think describing it as epic is not hyperbole. I think it is an appropriate.
It sounds like it doesn't do it justice, quite frankly.
Epic's
It's
not
like-
a large enough word.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like a single session of Twilight Imperium 4 is the equivalent of watching 4 seasons of Game of Thrones all at once.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it very much has that feel of like a season of a show. Like you experience this huge narrative arc throughout the course of it. So yeah, there was never any question. This was always going to be my number one.
Wow. Yeah. And if folks want to know more, Shea has covered this game extensively on his channel as well.
I taught 3rd edition and 4th edition.
Your Twilight Imperium video is like huge, right? Wasn't it like 500,000 views or something like that?
Twilight Imperium 4th edition, I think, is about 300,000.
Yeah. So you are not alone. Yeah. I mean, this is not something you normally hear about on my channel, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
And okay. Yeah. Well, I am going to be a bit anticlimactic here after both of those incredibly passionate, because my number one game of all time is Pandemic, and I put that higher. But even if it's my number one game, there's the game I have in my number one spot, which was on my list originally when I did this 5 years ago. But really, when I thought about this and rejiggered it so that if I could only have one, what would it be? I was really shocked. I thought about this for hours. And I cannot come away with anything other than if I could only own and play one game for the rest of my life, it's Paperback. Yes, Paperback. I already had another deck builder game. I love deck builders to pieces. And I have earlier on, Shadowrun Crossfire, which is a much more atmospheric, moody, adventure-filled deck builder and all that. But Paperback is, to me, I cannot think of a greater epitome of infinite replayability because I will never run out of words. Paperback is a deck building game where your deck is a bunch of cards of letters, simple letters, combined letters like TH, stuff like that. But and every time, like a regular deck builder, every round I draw some cards and I'm going to try to make a good word out of these cards. But the cards don't only just have the letters that create the words; these cards all have special powers. And so not only am I just trying to make the best, longest, smartest word out of these things, but I am also trying to adhere to whatever restrictions are that will allow me to double the points of this, or to draw extra cards when I need them, or whatever it is. And it's such an endlessly compelling puzzle. And I say this fully shocked because, for people who know my origin story for getting into board games, I went looking for Travel Scrabble and found Pandemic, and I'm so happy because I don't enjoy Scrabble, and it was part of my childhood. But this it raises above word games, and for a few reasons. One, it's the fact that I'm combining all these things with powers. There's a ton of variety. This is not a Dominion where, boy, sooner or later I'm going to need to get an expansion because I'm just going to run out of combinations that are interesting to me. This game will constantly surprise you and put you in tough binds I know there's a word here. There is a word that will let me play this card before this card. And the game, certainly for me and my wife Jen, because neither of us are super word slews, we're not that into it, but we love this game so much. And one of the most brilliant design tricks I've ever seen in any game is, again, that's just, I want to play this before this. I don't know. I'm just putting my cards on the table. Anybody have any ideas? And you can basically, I forget what the term for it is, it's like setting a bounty. That if somebody can come up with something with my cards that is better than what I come up with myself, hey, I will take the more points or the more opportunities to build my deck or whatever it is that your word helped me, and you will get paid for it as well. And I think that is just the most brilliant thing I have ever seen. It just instantly eliminates analysis paralysis for us. Because we grind, I don't know. Okay, I think this is the best I can come up with. Honey, what do you think? And then, it is a competitive game at its heart. But for us, it's the joy of working together and seeing if she can come up with something better than me out of my own stuff. And then I'll return the favor for her later on because we want to grab those bounty bonus things. Again, they're not called bounties, I forget what they're called. And if all that weren't enough, and that would have been enough for me to consider it, the game comes with a fantastic cooperative variant in the rules. And frankly, we enjoy the co-op game more than the competitive game, even though it was designed first and foremost. I forget, I think it was Ryan mentions, Seven Wonders Duel earlier.
Yeah.
Like a lifetime ago, like 3 Twilight Empiriums ago, I think,
Yeah.
roughly. And, I mean, you just barely mentioned it, but it has that very cool pyramid of cards that we're working our way up through. That becomes the basis for the co-op, that we have to clear out the pyramid. We have all these specific things we have to do, but we're working together. And it's absolutely phenomenal. And there's just no getting around it. This is a game that will never get old. Never mind the fact it's an amazing, super ultimate gateway game in case there's somebody else we need to play games with. It works fantastically at all player counts, including it's just a blast to play the co-op game solo. It has a wonderful presentation, this kind of retro, I guess it's another retro 50s, 60s vibe, book cover vibe with all the card art. I love everything about it. And that's saying something because generally speaking, I hated word games, but I love Paperback. And, while, hey, there's no dungeons to crawl, there's no worlds to save, there's no kingdoms to build, the kind of stuff I really like, but it's still my number one because nothing can beat it in terms of this is the one game I get to play for the rest of my life. Paperback.
So
Thoughts?
clear something up for me.
What's that?
Well, first of all, a question. Do you know what you and I and Tim Fowers, the designer of Paperback, have in common?
We all have video game development backgrounds.
That's right. And so, oh my gosh, I need the camera to come back on. Give me 2 seconds. Oh my God. You guys, no one's more frustrated than I am.
I think your camera
until I
just
have to
hears
put all
you
this
talking
together.
and it's like, okay, hold on.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I'm out. This
you
guy's
just-
yapping again. Forget it. Okay, double button on that and we're good. Okay. So, Tim Fowers and I were actually chummy as video game developers.
okay.
And we would meet up every year at the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. Sometimes sharing quarters, sometimes sharing lunches. He's a great guy, talented designer. Nobody can deny. And when GDC started showcasing more board games at the conference, he actually had a bunch of copies of Paperback when he had just made it, and he was selling them at the conference. And I said, "Oh, sure, yeah, I'll buy your game, Paperback." So I own a copy, but I've never played it, and I now feel horrible.
You are no
for
longer
admitting
chummy.
that. Really, no, he doesn't know that I've never played it. He actually didn't answer an email of mine a year ago, so he's dead.
Oh, there you go.
But
Oh, yeah, screw him. So.
but this is one of the reasons I think I had this writing in the back of my brain, and the reason I never busted it out. So clear this up for me.
Okay.
I walked around with him at the conference when he was selling Paperback, and some other people had played it, and they said, they were talking about it with him. They said, yeah, it was a really fun game. I liked it. They said, though, this one person said, oh, but that one hand is stronger than the others. And he goes, yeah, I got to tweak that, blah, blah, blah. And then the next person we ran into had almost the same conversation and brought up the same criticism, said that one hand is stronger than the others. And he goes, yeah, he made excuses or talked about it. And then later on, after Paperback, he came out with Hardback, which I assumed was the follow-up to fix whatever issue those designers were talking about.
Hardback is a significantly different game.
Okay, so that's not it at all.
Yeah.
I was just what were they talking about with the one specific hand that's stronger than all the other hands of the game that made me just kind of put Paperback on my shelf? And
You're rocking my world. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I've probably played Paperback probably around 20 times. Give or take, which I may not sound like a lot considering the subject matter of this, but for me, that's huge.
Sure.
I never, ever, 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 ever get to go back and play games, but we always try to make time for it because we just love it. And plus, it's also a really tiny, compact package. You can take it with you anywhere very easily. But I'll be honest, we mostly play cooperatively. Because my wife and I just love that to pieces. The fact that this is such a great cooperative experience is why Gloomhaven and Pandemic, my two favorite cooperative games of all time, came a little bit later, or earlier, I should say, in my list. Because ultimately, if I needed cooperative play with my wife, this scratched the itch, and it scratched so many other itches for us. So I don't know that I've played it enough, or I don't know that I'm good enough at word games to identify what that hand is.
So interesting, right? Because it's funny that the people that we were talking to, they must have only played it because it was brand new, right? They must have played it the night before and said this to him like the next day at the conference. So I was really curious to know that. And I wonder, I don't know, Tim, if you're listening, maybe you can, hopefully you are. You
Step
can pop into
up.
the comments or let us know. I'll interview you.
Or just reply to Ryan's email from a year ago.
Yeah, for heaven's sakes, Tim, come on. We were like this.
Wow. I will have to do some digging. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, the game has gone through multiple reprints.
interesting.
It's an evergreen for him. I mean, it's his little ticket to ride. Kind of a. People just keep buying. He keeps making more of it. If it was a problem, I imagine he's probably fixed it by now.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if new editions have whatever that thing was, if it was even a thing to begin with, worked out. I don't know. I'll have to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, I would be hesitant to assume it's a thing because I'm sure all three of us have seen that that syndrome of, oh yes, I just played the game for the first time and I've identified why it's completely broken in a way that thousands of hours of playtesting from the developers and the testers never saw. But I'm smarter than all of them and I immediately identified the problem.
Somebody said that to me about Alien Frontiers at a PAX Dev conference and said, "Oh, that game's garbage." And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Oh, well, you can just put a 6 on the auto terraform space, and why wouldn't you just do that? Why would you mess with anything else?" I'm like, well, for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason. And he wasn't into getting into a fist fight with me, so that kind of died. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, oh, you're so smart that, all these thousands of hours of playtesting are trumped by your one casual observation. I don't buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's funny how there are so many brilliant undiscovered designers out there who if we could only tap their raw potential and talent. But no, still, it is an interesting game because there's a wide swath of special powers on these cards that do a lot of things. And I wouldn't rule out that maybe there is some kind of degenerate, this card plus this card. If in fact that's the case, I'm sure it's easily fixable. It probably has been fixed long ago.
Or it's like
I said,
San
my wife
Juan
and I.
Is San Juan of the Almanac or the library where it's like you just don't play with that card because it's OP?
Yeah. I mean, heck, even Uwe Rosenberg has had that problem with a couple of games where, this thing in, I think there was one in Feast for Odin that slipped through and they had to recognize, yep, that's broken. We suggest you take it out now.
Right.
Yep. So that's it. Wow. 3 hours later, which is reasonable. That's an hour for each of us. An hour to talk. That's 10 minutes a game. I guess that makes sense.
I'm dehydrated, Rahdo.
Huh?
I'm dehydrated and I can't feel my toes.
Yes. Jen actually popped in about 2.5 hours ago and said breakfast is ready. And I can smell it for quite a while, and I imagine it's gone quite cold, and maybe it's gone to the dogs by now. I'm not sure.
Oh, God. If I had food in the background, I would have left so long ago.
Well, you've been well trained for this with your #1 game of all time. This was nothing to you. This was a walk in the park.
This is a quarter of the Empirium game.
Say hi to Shea and Ryan, the latest members of the Rahdo Runs Through crew. You'll be seeing, you've seen some from Shea, you'll be seeing more soon. You'll be seeing stuff from Ryan very soon. Ryan mentioned earlier that he already did a preamble, the games that just missed the list. And I believe, Ryan, right around the time you could find this video, you can find another adjunct video. The ones that you wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole or something like that?
The games that missed the list by a mile. They're the ones that's so bad I couldn't even keep them in my collection. I got rid of them.
The ones that if your children insisted come in, you'd say, I'm sorry, there's not enough room in this bunker.
Exactly. And all of them are telestrations.
Yep.
Just all the variants. Well, folks, if I believe that probably should be available right now, so you can hit that eye in the top right corner of the screen or follow the show notes to go check it out. Shea, just putting you on the spot, were you planning on any... Or do you have other stuff to do?
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
Were you planning on any adjunct to this video, or are you done with this now?
I don't like to sit on top 10s too much. I think I made this list, and then the next time I make a list, it's going to be completely different. I feel like, some of it anyway. So it's hard for me to say, like, to decide on a list. So I don't have anything planned out just yet. I've been making other content for RTFM at the moment, which is just talking about Dune. Which I haven't had enough plays of. Otherwise, I was considering putting it on this list, but it's just I've only played it a couple times, and I can't quite say for sure how many replays I would get out of it.
It's a candidate, though. All right.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it is. It definitely has some variety. It's just that there's only the 6 factions in the base game, and so I don't know how many replays I would get out of it, but
okay.
It doesn't take 12 hours.
It doesn't take 12 hours. It only takes like 4. So
what's up with that? What's up with baby games?
I know.
That's it's not even worth bothering to set up.
Exactly. Why would you
at
even
least 2 hours? Come on.
Exactly.
All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for sacrificing your Saturday. I mean, not that any of us have anything else to do under the current circumstances,
No,
folks,
not
you'll
leave the
see
house.
another one of this. I'll revisit this in 5 years from now if I'm still doing the show. If these two haven't taken over by then, I don't know. But otherwise, as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a very nice day. Talk to you later. Guys, say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sure.
Oh, so your battery went dead. Or his slow drain.
I have a much worse technological horror story to tell you when we're done this, and I'm really hoping that everything's cool.
Oh, how exciting.
Oh my god. It's super stressful for me.
Did it have to do with this particular video?
Yes, sir.
Oh boy, are you working with a corrupted memory card or something?
No, I'm not using the memory card, right? It's going right to my SSD.
Mm-hmm.
But, but now my audio is peaking for some reason. Hold on, let me turn down the button on that. No, why did this go back up to, okay, here we go. No, it's because the camera turned off, and so I messaged Cassie, because she's just in the next room, to come and turn it off and then on again for me. But in doing so, anytime I would hit the enter key, in OBS, I have the enter key mapped to showing my trailer, like my outro. So it started playing my outro, and I had to switch it back to the Ryan cam. And then the other thing that I noticed, probably too late, but I don't think too late, and I might have missed like a little tiny bit, but not very much, is that anytime I hit the space bar, it's mapped to pause in OBS. So I'd be typing a sentence to Cassie like, please come turn on camera. Every time I hit, so if I hit the space bar an odd number of times, it would pause the video. But if I typed an even number of times with the space bar, it would remain unpaused. So I caught it, and I only think it was going for a few seconds on paused, but I won't know until the end, and it's the worst, and I'm so sorry, and there's too much that can go wrong with a setup like this.
Jeepers creepers. I mapped pause to shift. And I never bother with capitalization. So
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens.
I think
hopefully
we're
the
good.
worst of it is they get to see a lot of your just, goofy big mouth headshot.
Sounds good. What's your record time right now, Rahdo?
Yeah.
What's your
All
record
right.
time? Rahdo, what's your record time say?
My record time, I am at 2 hours and 32 minutes and 40 seconds.
So I just missed 2 minutes. And I think it was 2 minutes when I wasn't talking.
Well, the chances are you weren't because somebody else was talking and that's when you were typing.
Yeah, you're right. That's what I'm hoping.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have been typing while you were actually talking. That would
Yeah. Good
That would,
point.
I mean, your simple brain, your adult brain couldn't have handled that.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. So yeah, I hope I missed a couple minutes of not me time.
Cool. All right. So are you back up and running, Shea?
Yeah, it's all good.
All
And
right. Now you're all out of sync. You're making
No. My video is tied to a different thing, so like it's still recording. So I'm still at 2 hours 30 whatever.
What happened then?
No, my camera ran out of battery, but my video feed is coming from the thing that my camera plugs into. So it has still been recording this whole time.
Okay.
It's just the video wasn't. There was no video
It's all
for it.
confusing. But all
Oh
right.
God, I'm glad I'm not the only one. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's fine. You're gonna get one video file from me. So
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Unlike some people.
Rahdo, what do you'll still get one video file from me. It's just paused and it's going to cut a bit out. What which editing software are you using?
I'm using OBS, but editing software. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you both guys are Premiere. Premiere is too rich for my blood. I'm just using a cheap thing called Power Director, which costs $50 on Amazon. One time.
Okay, because what I noticed like way too late after doing it the hard way for about a year, I don't know if Power Director has this, but Premiere has a feature where if you got an audio track and a video that has
Yes,
audio,
exactly. Yep.
select them both and hit synchronize, and it does it for you.
It's so helpful.
It's so good, and I didn't know it was in there until like a year later.
Yeah.
I'd actually been clapping or slating my shots in order to line them up with the snap for a year. That was brutal.
We'll get there.